Good morning, it's Brian. You are on the Art of Startup War. Now, there is one objective for this podcast, and that is for exceptional investors who are looking for incredible founders to be able to invest in. You all are looking for the inside track. Now, we as Expert Dojo are not promoters. Never, never, never. We are investors. And what that means is we go and spend so much time going through thousands and thousands and thousands of applications to find the 1, 2, 3 companies that we believe have got the best opportunity to be able to break through. We use a ton of criteria for this. We're looking through the execution of the execution potential of the founders. We're looking at the market size. We're looking at the competitors in the market. We're looking at the traction the company has. We're looking at how that traction can actually propel forward. We're looking at the amount of money that the company has raised. We're looking at how much cash flow the company has to be able to go through. It's really the wonderful thing about early stage startup is that as an investor, you can come in and make 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 times returns. Like people have heard about some of the returns that were made on Google and other areas, and much of the transformational wealth that has actually been made in this country has been made from investments in very early stage startups. That's all the positive, right? The negative is it's really, really, really hard to be able to tell, because it's a little bit like trying to work out from, if you're going to have a child, like which one is going to be a doctor and which one is not, right? So having the help of us to come on in this podcast and give you direction, we're told is a massive benefit, because you get to see and benefit from our experience. And it's my pleasure to do so. And today I have a founder that we're going to bring on, which is JD, and he's over in NuLife. And JD, I love the fact that we invested in this company on like a bunch of different levels. Like sometimes we get a company and we get a founder that we see we can make a ton of money from, and that's great. And sometimes that we get a founder we see we can make a ton of money from. It's just a pleasure to work with every single day, overachieves everything that needs to be done, and is impacting the world in a way that not just that we as investors can sleep well in the knowledge that we're not going to go poor, but we sleep well in the knowledge that the world is actually a way better place because of this. There are 2 or 3 very, very difficult boxes to fix. So over the next 20, 25 minutes or so, we're going to dig in a little bit more into that. But first of all, JD, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, Brian, thanks a lot for the intro, and it's my pleasure to be here. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. And you know, there are some times when I do this, and I know that we have founders that are exceptional, but they need help with investments. And then there's JD. Like he doesn't need any help. He's kind of here because we have a great relationship and we're working together. I don't even know if there's anything left in the round to be able to put into it. But we're going to talk about that and we're going to dig in. But JD, do you mind going through your personal story and the genesis of NuLife and why this is so important to the world? And then afterwards, we're going to dig into the traction and going forward and all of the opportunities that are now coming upon us. But take us back to the beginning and why this was something so important for you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to tell that story, because I think it is so important and so powerful. Not because of myself, but because of the millions of people that have gone through what I've gone through, and that is being an alcoholic and having to go through recovery. So over 11 years ago, March 17th, 2012, I made the decision, or the decision was made for me. It was time to get sober, which I did. And one of the problems with that was how to do it. How do I go about, getting sober, right? And there's, I'd heard of AA, I'd been to therapy before, and all of those things, and none of it worked. But part of it was because of me, right? It wasn't the right time. So when I did it, it was the right time. So after I got sober, I actually opened up brick and mortar treatment centers in Southern California and really got to understand the business of treatment and the life cycle of care and what is working and what is not working. And it was shocking. The fragmentation in the industry and how we really treated it. Really, the only example I could give is, imagine, that, every 30 days you needed to change your doctor for for cancer treatment or for any other chronic disease. and you had to restart and tell your story again and again and again. And that's really the business of recovery. So I can talk statistics and things all day long, but really the bottom line is that one person dies every 5 minutes from a drug overdose in this country.
Wow.
And when I started this company, it was one person every 10 minutes, right? So we're not going in the right direction. And the pandemic, exposed a lot of flaws in the treatment, in this industry. It caused people to drink more, to use more. Did a lot of damage outside of just what COVID was. And so, back to NuLife, and what NuLife does is we actually help existing treatment providers extend how long they can treat clients, so they can keep a longer term continuity of care. But we also make it much, much easier for people to get into treatment, to find care, to start care. I mean, I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, "Hey, I want to go to rehab," right? And so why not make it, open up access to care so that anybody, that wants it has it. And part of that is because only 10% of the people that need help right now, Brian, are actually getting the help that they need. So that means 90% of the people, 90% of our population is not getting the help that they need. And on top of that, the 10% of the people that do, 4 out of 5 of them fail to stay in recovery because of our current treatment model. And so what we do at NuLife is we allow providers to stay with patients long term when life starts to happen, when when they go through care and it's time to leave, and they go home. Because there's really 3 components to recovery. There's medical, right? So we have to get detox from the substances or alcohols that we're using. So that's medical. There's clinical, right? So we have to have the right professionals to help us through and to figure out some of the reasons why we drink or use, and who in our life is a negative influence. And then there's community, right? Those are the people that either have been through this before and can help guide you. So it's much like, being an entrepreneur and working with other peers and founders. And then there's the people that are going through it at the same time that you are. And so that's what NuLife does. It brings those pieces together: the medical, the clinical, and the community.
Incredible. And I suppose everybody can relate to this. Like, how many people here, just to take it on to just a very basic, normal thing that everybody has done in the job, like how many people have gone to a training course? You've learned how to sell better, right? You've learned how to be a better manager. You've learned how to take care of people better. And you go on the course, and you're in the course, and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And the trainer is a phenomenal trainer, and they do all the things that need to be done. And then you go back, and that afternoon you implement it at home, right? You're like, I just learned this sales technique, which is fantastic. And then a week later, like, you remember a couple of the things because they're really, really, really good, but you've forgotten a lot of the other stuff, right? Because it was a whole day of training and your head hurts, right? And then a month later, things happen. Like, you went away on holidays, you had a fight with your wife or husband, your kids were like mean to you, and you remember some stuff, but really life gets in the way again as well. And I think this is what you're talking about, JJ. It's just, as humans, the theory of a perfect training is wonderful. We buy into it. It's like, come to this place for a day. You're going to learn how to be a better salesperson. Come to this place for a day. We're going to be, or for a week or a month or 3 months, we're going to be able to make sure that we cure you from any affliction you have, for addiction or for anything else. But the reality of life is that it just kicks you in the face every day. Like, that's how it works. And because of that, the retention of all of the wonderful things, no matter how great it was, is never going to work. It's a depreciating asset always. And so tell me how you came to that conclusion yourself, because you started off going into the treatment space and you're like, I want to help, right? And I want to help with treatment centers. And then there has to have been a moment, a realization of, oh my God, I'm not helping. Like, this thing is broken. And by me actually coming into it, all I'm doing is perpetuating a system which doesn't work. And so talk to me about the eureka moments, not the treatment centers, because I think that's just a logical extension of a good human being who wants to do something to help, and they look at a system that's in place and try and do it. But talk to me about NuLife, which was that moment of inspiration.
Yeah, it was back in 2016. It was a year that we saw, unfortunately, 7 people that had been to our treatment center, die sometime, after they had left care. Some completed 30 days of care. Some people left care early, and unfortunately, I went to a couple of these, funerals, because you get close to these people that that this is real life. These aren't statistics; they aren't numbers. You get close to the people, and sometimes you even get close to the families, right? So when I worked in admissions and I would talk to families and talk to these people, these are real people that really do not know. They don't know what to do. Like, you're scared. You're lonely. And then we tell people, you just have to change one thing about you, and that's everything. And so we treat them just like you said, and then they leave. And so it was when I saw people leave our care and be so much better in just a 30-day time frame, and then that they're leaving, and you really then don't have any control of what's going to happen,
Yeah.
next. And then that you help them build up these new relationships of people that were inspirational. And I'm talking about both their care team, but these other people that they've gone to treatment with, which is just this life-changing, process. But then that they leave, and there's no tie keeping them together, right? There's no tie keeping them with their care team, and there's no tie keeping them with these peers that have become their support system. And so that was the aha moment, where it was like, we need a better way to keep people connected to not only their medical and clinical team that they've already told this story with, that's gotten to know them, that understands their situation, but we need a way to keep them connected with the people that they've gone through care with, and then a way for them to meet new people that are going through or have gone through what they're going through, and that have similar interests, right? Because addiction is just a slice of our life. It's not what defines us. I have other interests: sports, hiking, biking, a lot of different things. Why not meet and do things with people in recovery that are also interested in those things? And so that's what we wanted to be about. And then I'll end with, we also wanted to be able to measure and track progress, and also start to predict when people may be on a downslide, and be able to intervene before it gets too late.
Wonderful. And talk to us about the reaction of the treatment industry as to what you were doing, because I can't believe that this is something that they haven't been struggling with for years and years and years. And then talk to us about the implementation of the actual process and the products themselves to help this happen.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the treatment industry. We've been talking about for years and years with insurance payers and about value-based care, and that addiction should not be treated as an acute care disease, but more of a chronic disease that it is. And so the treatment industry is fairly cottage, right? You have a lot of small, mid-size treatment center owners and operators, some of which aren't very sophisticated, and don't know how to really measure, or provide evidence to the type of care that's provided. Is it working, or is it not working? So the treatment center owners that want to be good, that want to be successful going forward, have reacted very well. Obviously, COVID. I mean, before COVID, virtual care was very much limited to one-on-one sessions here and there with a therapist, right? No one who even considered doing substance abuse or mental health treatment, online. There's just too much pushback. Now it's demanded by the people that the patients themselves, the clients themselves, because they know that is an available source. And so our clients have been and prospective clients have been very receptive to the part where why not make it easier for people to get connected with us and to stay connected with us. And we're so burned out. We have so many people that are burned out. Why not be able to automate our capabilities to stay in touch with our clients once they leave? So we take a lot of labor and burden off of the treatment centers, workload, which they've been, extremely receptive to. But we're early on in that process. I mean, really, really, early on, a lot of the treatment center business has been based on physical locations and then legislation, the ability to treat patients and clients across state lines. Like, do you think it makes a difference, Brian, if somebody is in California or Texas or New York? I mean, if they're an alcoholic or addicted in New York, are they different than an alcoholic or an addict in California? Is a clinician different in California than New York?
Mm-hmm. Not at all.
So why not be able to allow patients to stay with their care provider and stay connected long term and improve outcomes along the way? I mean, it just so we're at that inflection point where laws were changed or temporarily changed, due to COVID, and we expect those laws, telemedicine and cross jurisdictional treatment to stay. To stay in place as we move forward, but it's still complex.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And then talk to us about how you then push the product out and you make sure that you got yourself the right traction, because now you're in a great place. You've got offer sheets, term sheets for investment, like you're phenomenal. But talk to us about, like, as you took it out, I think the logic of what you're doing is so apparent to everybody. Now it's about the execution. How did you execute it?
Yeah, I mean, we worked with our anchor client for about a year and a half to get the product really where it needed to be. Before we started taking it out to additional treatment centers and clients, and so we really, and then as I started off with, not only was I a client, but I owned and operated treatment centers, which is exactly who our clientele is. And so I know every part of that operation. So we go out and now we've started to, and with working with Expert Dojo as well, started to automate and grow our sales process. And so our outreach is done a lot through LinkedIn, a lot through direct contacts that we have, in the industry. So typically we start with working with an outreach coordinator or someone that's, familiar with trying to get people into care. And then we move up into operations. And typical implementations are, less than 30 days. And we are generally working with program directors so that they can set up their program digitally. So we allow them to digitize and scale their services. And then we move from them to getting their clinicians and their practitioners, onboarded. And most clinicians and practitioners are more familiar with technology now due to COVID, right? They're used to Zooms. We're built on top of, Zoom. And so because we make their job easier, allowing patients to schedule time with them and allowing their schedule to be published, they're pretty receptive to it. And so the process has been pretty streamlined. Then we move to helping them onboard current and former patients and clients because we want to build that community. And then we've partnered with other communities and providers in the addiction and substance abuse space to build this thriving public social sobriety support network so that when people get onto the platform, they're already feel kind of surrounded and hugged and safe.
Yeah, fantastic. And then and you've raised money and you're raising more money, which is looking really good right now. Talk to us about like what the parallel growth looks like for the company going over, growth in money that you're raising, i.e. investment going into the company, growth in revenue, and how you expect that to go forward over the next couple of years. We're going to get to, in a question or two, we're going to get to like your epic insight of what happens with the company. I want to cover this growth area and I want to cover your team a little bit before we actually go there. But when we get to that epic insight, I want to look at what the Horizon 3 looks like for NuLife, like when you're looking back 10 years in the future, talking about this incredible movement that you've created and how this has turned into the size company that it's going to become. And but before we get there, let's look forward a little bit and look at what we're raising, how we're raising, what that will do for us, what 2023 is going to look like, how that then pushes forward to 2024 from a revenue perspective.
Yeah, so great question. We are right now have a fully subscribed Series Seed round, raising 3 million on a 7 million pre-money valuation. So we've been very fortunate to.
I love that. Say
Work.
that again. It feels so good to hear that in this world of just doom and gloom and 2023 and venture capital money is down. No, it's not. Not for great companies. For great companies, there is venture capital money and it is coming out of the woodwork, because the difference between this year and before is that money has to be deployed well. And that's why it's being deployed right now into NuLife. Go on.
Yeah,
Totally. I wanted to
so 3
savor it,
million,
JD.
7 million. Yeah, we totally subscribed. We're oversubscribed round, which we expanded to. And I think the reason is, number one is we're making a big impact. I think that the problem we're solving is, is huge, and everybody can get their arms around it. And then, but so where we expect it to have, we want to have over the next 2 years over 100 treatment centers, in and on our platform. Which is going to bring us to a $4 or $5 million ARR, and we're doing that by one program at a time, making sure that we're making an impact, making sure that we're getting the community involved, and then we've got an incredible team. I mean, we just been able to attract some fantastic people to our team. My co-founder, David Metzler, who came on board, is in 2008 started a company very similar to what NuLife is doing, and this is 14 years ago, and it was the first sober social network. They were funded 18 million by United Healthcare, and they went on to to exit 5 or 6 years later. But they were just too early to really realize the potential. There was no insurance money. Nobody was covering, care. And so we've got that power. We've got a CFO that, is helped raise money for companies like Brave Health and others. We've got CTO from ex-CTO from United Healthcare. We've got advisors that are in the payer space. And so we've put together a good team that actually knows how to implement, what we're doing, and some of which are also in recovery, and share a similar story to mine. So we're all just super passionate about what our why is, right? What our why is.
I love that. And life, whenever I think about what you're doing, I kind of think about the world and where it is today. And life is so beautiful, but culture is so fucked up. We have all of these places, like I think even where I come from, and you and I have talked about this before with Ireland, and things like drinking as much as you can is celebrated as a kid, like you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and the size of, being a great man is like how many beers you can drink in a bar. Like, where's that going to take you to? And then I look at the pressures that are in the world that are on younger people, but maybe even like older people today. And it's so hard. Like back in my day when I was a kid, you only had the offline world to worry about. Like, and that was hard enough, honestly. Like I only had like my 4 people who knew me on a Friday night who were going to judge me. Now I got like 40,000 people if I'm a 19, 20-year-old girl or boy. And you've then got the economic challenges, you've got the job challenges, you've got the expectations, you've got the it's a smaller world, so there's more people that are looking in your window. And when really what addiction is escapism at the end of the day. We can disguise it in whatever we want to, but it's escapism. So my worry
Totally.
with the world in general is that it's become so hard to live in that escapism is going to become a more and more and more logical conclusion for folks to get into, which means that addiction is going to continue. I'm not going to say is going to become one of the biggest problems of our time. It is going to continue as one of the greatest problems of our time and is only going to accelerate. So sometimes as an investor, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, you have the opportunity to invest in companies. Sometimes you have the opportunity to invest in companies that are saving the world. NuLife are saving the world. So whether you're listening to this and you think, shoot, I would really like to invest, and I don't even know if you can, you probably can't, but you still reach out to JD because it shows that you're interested. If you say, hey, I know addiction centers, I know people, I know health individuals, I know folks in insurance, I want to help, reach out to JD. If you are an addict yourself and you're looking for help, reach out to JD, right? We want to, by extension, I'm so proud I've invested in this company because I want to help. And JD is my proxy for being able to do that. And I love the fact that I'm a part of it. So, any of you who can also be a part of this and can add whatever you can to be able to save the world in many ways, please do. And I just want, on that vein, first of all, how can people contact you, JD? Just before I jump into the probably the most
Yeah,
important part.
absolutely. So LinkedIn's a great way. So it's just JD MEINTS. And then my email is JD as in David at nulifevirtual.com. That's NULIFE virtual.com. So I'd love to hear from anybody that is interested. This is a massive problem. We need all the help we can.
So I do want to jump into the last question, but I think before I do, maybe just on the comment that I just made there on the size of the problem, and you and I are dealing with government organizations on this as well, funding organizations, and we
Yep.
know that it's one of the three most important challenges that the United States as a government, as an institution, as a country is officially challenged with today. One of the three biggest challenges, and I'm including defense of the country as one of those challenges. And I'm also including one of the other challenges, which was COVID, which obviously 3 years ago was one of the greatest killers in the country. So now we're talking about probably the number two biggest problem in the entire country from the perspective of the government. Maybe just talk a little bit about this. Am I oversizing the problem or undercalling it? Like JD, where are we with this, and what is needed to fix it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't think you can overestimate. I mean, as I said, one person dying every 5 minutes is just that. This piece of it. But I'm a dad. I have two teenage daughters. One's 19 and in college, and one's 15 and in high school. And the pressures, like you said, that they're under, and they need to know that it's okay to walk a different path. It's okay. There are a lot of people out there, that don't want to drink or don't want to use. I mean, we have over 40 million people a year with a substance use disorder, and that's just the reported. Those numbers are so underreported, and globally, we're looking at 10x that, and it is a global disease, and I remember exactly what you said, Brian. Drinking was modeled in my family. Right, I come from a family where drinking was accepted and celebrated, and I'm so proud that I broke the mold for my kids. And the most important thing is to just have open, honest conversations. I mean, it's okay. Like, that's what I love about being in this industry and being in this space, and people knowing not only that I'm sober, but that I'm in this business, is because people will open up, right? And then once that first question is asked, that's where you can really help. So if you see people, anyone that you think is struggling, just make it okay for them to talk to you. Make them okay for them to talk to you.
I love that. Last question. It's 10 years in the future. You're on Bloomberg. You're having a interview after having an exit. Talk to me about what the interview says, about what you've built, what impact it had, not just on the folks that you're supporting and you're there for, but also for the investors that came on the journey with you. Tell us what the interview says.
Yeah, I mean, we will be the world's largest and most effective relapse prevention program, on the globe, and we will be connecting those 40 million plus people, and we will be changing, how addiction is treated, moving forward, and we will make it okay for people to be supported and to be in recovery, and along the way, that $100 billion exit that we're looking for, that will be overwhelmingly achieved.
I love it. It's a beautiful thing. JD, I couldn't be happier to be on the journey with you. Everybody listening, be inspired by someone and by a team that are changing the world in such a beautiful way. I certainly am. I'm happy about it every day. Thanks for letting me come along.